What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show, and we've got a great one lined up for you today. Yes, the prices are continuing to slip to the downside, but when we get into the news section, you're going to want to stick around. Major reasons you guys should be paying attention because the whales look like they are buying the dip, and an historical rally still looks like it is coming sooner rather than later. You want to buy this dip ASAP, but we're explaining all the details, the levels on the charts that you need to know about your investing today. Also, do we know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? Well, HBO thinks they do. We're going to cover that and a whole lot more. So make sure to smash that like button. I'll tell you this, guys. Every time we get to 600 likes before the end of the live stream, we're going to give somebody $50. I'm going to tell you this. If we can get to 300 likes by the 30-minute mark, I will give somebody $25. So go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. But first, we got to roll the intro. Mr. T Shroom in a new location. I see evacuated up there. You're in High Springs again, right?
That's right, Tim. And it's very dry. It's a little cloudy, but very dry here in High Springs.
I was going to ask you what the weather is like. I think someone tell me in chat, or maybe you can look it up as we go into the show. What time today does the storm actually make landfall in Florida?
It's supposed to touch down, I believe, in the evening, like the later evening. I want to say like 10 p.m., midnight, somewhere around in there. Don't quote me, though. That is not an official weather report. I've been paying attention to a lot of other things, but that's what I think.
Just in case anyone's listening and says, what the heck are they talking about? I thought this was a crypto show. The last 24 hours or so for T-Shroom and myself have been crazy. There is a hurricane. It's Hurricane Milton coming to Florida once again. You might be saying, Tim, why does that affect you? You live in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, I have family that lives down there. I had a family member yesterday who needed my help to come get them. So I drove 14 hours yesterday. Got back at 2:30 a.m. this morning. So I'm feeling chipper. Right. Actually, I slept in a little bit. That was the nice part. I got to sleep in this morning. I feel really good. But again, as we've been saying the last couple of days, praying for everybody who's down there in Florida. It is probably too late to get out. If you are still down there, find a very safe building, get into the center of the house, be safe. But yeah, a lot of movements happening down here in the southeast of the United States as we are getting hit by the second major hurricane within the last month. It is absolutely crazy what is happening. But T-Shroom, we're not going to talk about the hurricane the entire time. We are here to talk about crypto. Are you ready for that?
Oh, Tim, I'm doing better than I deserve, and I am ready to get on into it.
All right, let's get into it. Like I said in the intro, 300 likes by the 30-minute mark, and we'll give somebody $25. Make sure to go check that out. Let's check out what's happening with the crypto bubbles. It's a sea of mixed colors, but a lot more red than green. While you do have some green like Uni and Leo and Nero and HTX and Arrow, there's bigger red bubbles today. Caspa, we're going to take a look at Caspa during the technical analysis section. FTT is down 9%. Tau is down 6.5%. Stacks 5%. Safe 5%. TIA down 4.6. We're going to take a look just to give you guys an edge on what the TA is going to look like today. Obviously, we're going to do Bitcoin like we always do, but we'll also take a look at Caspa, TIA, and FET doing some interesting things today I want to check out in the charts. We're also, for our kind of stock portion, we're going to take a look at Coinbase, and you'll find out why when we get into the news section, but Coinbase has a big buyer right now. We're going to check out those charts here in just a couple of minutes. Let's start off with the granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin charts. Everybody wants to know what's happening with Bitcoin. By the way, Hardick, I don't know. See your super chat. That is a shill. Please, if you want to give money, that's completely fine, but please refrain from shilling coins to our community. Everybody who's watching that, please research and trade responsibly. Moderators in chat, leave the super chat, but if you see other people commenting about this coin, put them in a timeout. Let's do 30 minutes, 30-minute timeout. If you're going to try to shill projects to the community, asking questions is fine, but just coming here and dumping over and over and over again, saying the name just to try to get attention, not going to fly here at the Investing Bros. Moderators, help us out. Back to the Bitcoin TA here. You guys can see we called here a couple of days ago for at least a pullback back down to 61.6. While we saw a small bounce this morning on that level, we were not able to hold. You can see we had a nice little bounce this morning around 10 a.m., rallied back up to 62.3, but now we have lost that level. We did prepare our community. We said, hey, guys, keep an eye out for 61,000. Well, there's another level as we've reached 61,000 now that you guys should be prepared for, and it's going to be back out here at 60,000 once again. This is kind of a short time frame zone you guys should be watching. As you turn on Luxago indicators, you can see here, even on the 1 hour chart, we do have a major order block in play down here at 60,000, a take profit level in play there at 61,000. As we kind of zoom out, you can see some confluence there as well. We've lost our smart trail. We've set a breaker block here at 61.6, give or take. And we have these order blocks, take profits on the 4 hour chart, all the way down here, right below $60,000. If you take a look at the oscillators, not giving us necessarily a whole lot of help. Our Luxago oscillator, after printing a very small short order here just a little bit ago. What is today? The 9th. So yesterday afternoon, we printed a sell signal actually on the 4 hour Bitcoin chart. And while the oscillator is below the mid level, we have a ways to go before that is overextended and flashing by. So right now, looking to the downside here on Bitcoin. One of the big reasons why also is when you take a look at the liquidation charts, you'll see we had a heavy amount of liquidity here on 61,000. That's one of the reasons why we prepared our community for it. But it does look like, and it's weird how it's showing up because this was not this bright this morning. We're now seeing a bright level of liquidations sitting right below $60,000 at 59,700. What are liquidations charts? This is ultimately levels where people have entered futures positions, meaning they've bought with leverage. They're looking to sell that in the future. It's ultimately just trading with leverage. But these are levels that there's millions of dollars of long positions, because we're below the price action, long positions, buying positions, that if these price levels are hit, their positions are exited. This is actually really bearish. The only thing that people need to know about this is it's not really that bearish in the sense of saying that price action is back into a bear market. It's actually a tactic by a lot of smarter, well-off investors who target these zones to liquidate the average retail investor simply so they can turn it around and go back to the upside. So I caution anyone from setting any longs at the moment. It does look like everything wants to push us to the downside here towards $60,000. But the good news is that is something that should be a level of strong support as we reach those levels. Let's keep an eye on around 59.8, 59.9, give or take, is something to keep an eye on. I'm going to give you guys a little teaser before we transition into other charts. We are working at the moment with Luxago to create specialized indicators that you guys will be able to get here through the community. I want to tease something really quickly to you guys. It is a liquidations chart actually on TradingView. If you guys stick around, we are not releasing this just yet. At the moment, only myself and T-Shroom can see this indicator, but in the not so distant future, we'll give you guys an ability or an ability to get a hold of this indicator should you want to use it. But ultimately, instead of having to use a different website, different tool to use your liquidations, like coming over to CoinAnk or going over to CoinGlass, you would be able to have liquidations charts right here on your screen. You can see here we just took out a big amount of liquidity right there on 61,500. Kind of zoom out here for a second. We're going to build up some more all the way down here. There we go. There's some liquidity sitting right down here at 59,800. We also have some liquidity sitting up at 64.5. So don't get too bearish so fast, but it is something that we're watching for a move back down below 60,000. Why? Because we have some liquidations charts, and very, very soon you guys will have the ability to get this liquidation chart on your TradingView via the Investing Bros and Luxago. Stick around for more information about that. Let's turn that one off for a second. Let's check out the other coins we want to take a look at today. Kind of telling you the short view here on Bitcoin. Looks like a pullback is in the cards. Well, it's not a different story on Caspa. Caspa here more recently definitely fell below a major support zone that we have been tracking in for multiple months, all the way since back in January. So 10 months, right? I say multiple months. We're getting closer to a year than saying multiple months that this trend line of support was in play. Short zones we're keeping an eye on here at the immediate kind of support level we're watching. Keep an eye on this zone here around 12 cents. I believe even if we go up to the daily chart, this is where the take profit on a sell signal from Lux Algo is telling us we could get to. It's the top of the green support band. But the much larger position I'm watching on Caspa is going to be down in this zone. I don't think that it is unheard of. I don't think it'd be crazy at all for Caspa to actually make a move back down towards 10 cents. Why is that? Well, this is something I cautioned people on a very long time ago when this formation started to develop, and it was the fact that this zone of resistance, this zone of support, is a constricting rising chart, meaning we call it a rising wedge or a bullish wedge. These traditionally break to the downside. You take the opening of the formation, you move it over to the last major resistance level, and that is what's giving us a price prediction as low as down here to 10 cents. But when you start to turn on indicators, let's go out to the weekly chart, you're going to find a major order block down in this zone. That's what we're watching at the moment. Keep your eyes on that for Caspa. Short term, 12.6, but if that starts to get lost, this breakout of the rising wedge pattern bringing us back down towards 10 cents looks like it should be back in play for all of our Caspa holders. Why is that a good thing? Because it means you get to buy some cheap Caspa before an epic bull run that is still on the way. Let's test my tool here real quick. Let's test this liquidations chart to see what's kind of going on here. This is a newer chart here, so we're not going to get the best information, I don't think. But let's just take a look at what we have going on if it loads for me. Liquidations, there we go. Really not, I mean, recently, especially on the daily chart, it looks like a lot of liquidity is up above us. Not a lot sitting down below us, but this could be a chart that just doesn't have enough time on it to give us an accurate data. Let's go to the 5 daily. Yeah, I mean, you have some liquidity down in here. Massive liquidity down at 6 cents. Don't worry about that. 6 cents is not on the table to run back up, but not going to give us a lot of help there on that one. That's all right, though. It's definitely working here for Bitcoin. Let's take a look at other coins we want to take a look at. TIA is definitely one to keep an eye on. We have been tracking on TIA a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern where we had a nice looking dip that formed a left shoulder over here back in August. We had a good bigger dip to the downside in September, giving us a good head. And then this most recent dip looks like it's forming a right shoulder. Now, I told you guys when we pointed this out the other day, you want to wait for the confirmation. What's the confirmation? A break back above the neckline. And while we rallied the other day back up to 571, you're not going to see a breakout until we get above 670. Right, so a lot of room to the upside before TIA really confirms this inverse head and shoulders pattern that could break out as high as $11.46. That being said, it is something that's still on the table. Let's take a look at indicators here to see what could be happening. We have fallen below the daily smart trail. There's an order block back down all the way back here at 340. This, I would say, would cancel out this inverse head and shoulders pattern. But with that being a major level of support at the moment with liquidations at that level, it's something you're going to want to keep your eyes on. On a shorter time frame, though, like the 4-hour chart, what I'm going to be watching is the take profit and the order block along with this green support trail coming in around $4.50 is the zone to look for a potential buy on TIA, short-term scalp for a small bounce. We will need to see, though, some buy signals start to flood in. We're close, actually, on the 4-hour chart here. What I mean by we're close, well, we've gotten a green reversal. We're definitely seeing a slowing down the momentum of the oscillator, and that money flow is now creeping sideways and could turn to the upside, but you want to wait for further confirmation. As far as the 1 hour is concerned, the 1 hour is not giving us that buy signal. 1 hour actually showing us some signs we could retrace just a little bit lower. And like I said, well, the zones we're kind of watching. Let's go back out to the 4-hour chart. zone we're kind of watching here, it's going to be in this level of $4.50. Maybe you don't want to be that aggressive. Come in somewhere closer to $4.60 or so, but absolutely something to keep an eye on. Holy cow, let's take a break because I'm looking at chat, and there's a whole lot of bots in here. Mods, thank you so much for working a little overtime. Hopefully people are able to pay attention and listen to the technical analysis while we clean up the charts. But this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, as we have been growing, and you guys have been so awesome. Our community grows more and more every single day, which is a good thing. You get the attention from some of these bots and some of these hackers, and they come in here and they try to create chaos. So thank you. Shout out to our mods. If you guys see a blue name in chat, give them some love for doing some hard work today to get rid of all these scammers. Let's take a look at FET before we move on and take a look at our stock of the day. We might start doing that, like one stock a day. Today, it's going to be Coinbase. Let's look at what's happening with FET. Let's kind of take a zoomed out perspective before we get more in depth. Recently, FET had broken out of a falling, broadening wedge. Falling wedges, whether broadening or constricting, they're both extremely bullish. In this case, the breakout prediction after we broke out back here in September, around the 15th, would send the price of FET all the way up above $3 again, back to the highs we had in March of 2024. But at the moment, you can see we're getting a little bit of a turnover. And while I don't know if it's going to play out this negatively, something you guys should be prepared for, if you were going to, you're going to see this a little more clearly when I go to the 4-hour chart. We do have what it looks like a head and shoulders pattern, not inverse, but actually a head and shoulders pattern. You can see that we have a neckline right here that's rising. We also have a good looking left shoulder, rounded head, and a right shoulder has developed. The only difference is this time now we actually have a breakout. How low can this one get before it's all said and done? We could see, let me make sure I'm logged. There we go. We could see low potential back to these lows we had on September 6th, back down to 99 cents or $1, give or take here for FET. With that said, I'm not necessarily saying for certain we're going to drop down that far because I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of support between where we currently are and that level. The first thing I'm going to tell you, it's not uncommon whatsoever. A lot of you guys who have been watching the Investing Bros for a while know we talk about this a lot. When you break through a long-term trend line of resistance, it's not uncommon to come back down and retest that line as support. Well, that's going to put us somewhere here in the range of $1.18. Let's see what happens when we turn on Luxottica indicators and kind of see what's happening in that same range. Well, as you look at this, this is right here in the middle of our take profit on a recent sell signal here. If I were to drop towards the 1-hour chart, this is also going to be below the green support band. So a lot of reasons why that's going to be an interesting spot. Order blocks at 125 are also something to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at FET's liquidation chart and just see what it is saying here. Might not want a month, but we're gonna see what this says. Yeah, let's go a little shorter. Let's go like a week. Let's see what's happening. We have some liquidations all the way down towards 130. I guess I do need to go back out to a month to see this long of a time frame, but not necessarily a whole lot of information. Nothing crazy bright. All the bright spots are above us. So liquidation charts not helping us out with this. But what we're kind of watching right now is a pullback. Looks like it's on the table. Best case scenario, we're only looking at like a $1.23, $1.26 area. But if this head and shoulders pattern plays to fruition, you could see, grab the wrong tool there, we could see a price action back down around $1 in play for FET. Oop, I don't know why I just created it and then deleted it. Let's build that again. Long story short, or long term though, it still looks like when you come to larger time frames that a bigger rally is coming. Bullish breakouts are coming. Let's look at the weekly chart real quickly here and see, are we close to a buy? Yeah, we got a buy signal on the weekly chart here just a couple of weeks ago. With all of these reversals in play, positive money flow, you just got to be a little more patient there with the weekly charts to let it all play out. Last chart of the day. I promised you guys one stock, and then we're going to get into the news stories. It is Coinbase. Now, I'm gonna spoil a little bit of the story, but I'm not gonna tell you who. Somebody is buying Coinbase today in bulk. And one of the reasons why I would say that's not a terrible decision is we recently have broken out of a falling wedge pattern. We kind of just talked about this in the last chart, but falling wedge pattern, right? Falling level of resistance, falling level of support, but we broke above the trend line, came back and retested it as support, and now we're making moves to move to the upside. We've had a major buy signal back here on the daily chart. If I were to go all the way out to the weekly chart, we have not quite a buy signal there just yet. Let's get some positive money flowing, but we do see positivity as far as the RSI and the MACD are concerned on those larger time frames. Let's come back out here and turn on the Lux Algo indicators, see what's going on. Targets to the upside at the very least back up to 207. That being said, this falling wedge pattern would have the breakout. Let's see. It's going to be from here to here. This would be a breakout prediction, kind of in that same range there, around 207, 208. So that's our longer term prediction here for Coinbase over the next couple of weeks to keep an eye on. Let's go to the 4-hour chart and see what levels we're kind of watching in the short term. Lots of support right in this zone. We could dip back down into this order block around 160 for sure. But at the moment, with this recent news of whales buying Coinbase, and with the fact that we've recently tested some major support and we're ready to make a move to the upside from the longer time frames, I wouldn't be looking for any type of I wouldn't be looking for a longer term short position on Coinbase. I think it's closer to the bottom than it is the top. You guys, if you're looking to get into a good stock, check it out here very, very soon. Last thing I'll take a look at, and I didn't have this planned, but people are commenting on it. Dixie is making some moves here over the last couple of days. Bruh. We told you about this zone way up here. We had a major order block in play. We had if you kind of look at the falling channel we'd been in here on the daily chart ever since back here in August, end of August, we predicted that this box would be hit somewhere in the range of just below 103. There's a chance 103 gets tapped. But after that, I would not be surprised to see Dixie keel over. This is just part of what happens with a bunch of other fiat currencies kind of going downhill. United States dollar, USD, is picking up some steam. If you're thinking that this is a death sentence for crypto, you're not necessarily right there. We've actually watched, with the exception of the last couple of days, over the last couple of months, the Dixie and crypto have traded in similar patterns. Bullish days for the Dixie have been bullish for crypto, and vice versa. Bearish days have been bearish as well. That being said, eventually it will diverge. When does that happen? Well, we're diverged today. Crypto is dropping and Dixie is pumping. When we see Dixie hit this resistance and potentially keel over, is that also the same thing that happened for crypto prices to keel over and go back to the upside? We'll keep you posted on how that's looking, but the Dixie is climbing. Crypto is falling. I actually see that as a very positive sign for the reasons I just explained. We can cover more about that in the Q&A sections, but covered a lot of ground today on the charts. We're at 200 likes or close to it. We have 7 minutes to get to 300, and somebody in chat will get $25 given to them. But you got to smash that like button. While you do it, Tish Room, you got a lot of news for us today. Go ahead and take it away. What do people need to know about in the markets?
Yeah. Absolutely, Tim. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with this interesting tweet here from Crypto Jill in L, maybe New Zealand or something like this. Kind of a hard to decipher. Let's just go with Jelly. In the past years, the bull market summer chop seasons have all ended around the 20th to the 25th of October. And we're coming up on that here in just a few weeks. If that pattern repeats, we'll see new all-time highs in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Chart looks ready. What chart? This chart. This is a good-looking chart. It shows the price history for Bitcoin. And as you can see here, there's been periods of consolidation followed by huge rips higher. We saw one even last year from March to October, and that led to a huge rip into the new year. Followed by with periods of consolidation even in those rips there and there in the case of 2021. But Tim, this is bullish. This is what we are thinking is going to trigger a move much higher. Yeah. Hopefully very soon. And again, those days to mark on your calendar there are toward the end of the 20th to the 25th of October is what this analyst kind of pointed out. So, we're constantly, scraping the internet and other talented analysts that are out there to try to pull out the best from all worlds. Tim, how bullish is this? How much confidence do you put in this type of observation on the markets? Yeah. Is this gap exploitable? What are your thoughts here?
That analysis, it's a little bit different timing than what we did, but effectively, this is what we talked about back in March of this year. If you guys go to my screen here, T-Shroom, let me go up and check this chart. My timing is off here, right? So don't pay attention necessarily. Ooh, did I delete the box? Oh, I must have deleted it to clear up a chart. Well, only the OGs will know if I'm telling the truth or not. But again, vouch for me if you guys remember the huge box that I put in here. It wasn't perfect necessarily, but I said that we would probably see sideways to downward movement until at least September. Now, we're in October, right? So about a month past it, but the point's still valid, and it's kind of the same kind of thought that this guy's going with, is that historically, the year of the halving, the year of the presidential election, which is always the same, you see a sideways, boring channel heading into the fall before the election, and then you make a move to the upside, similar to things that we predicted, again, about 7-8 months ago back in March. This is still on the table right now. From a shorter term perspective, I forgot to mention this, but let's mention it here as well, because you might be saying, Tim, T-Shroom, if this is so bullish, we're about to make a big break to the upside, why are we dipping at the moment? Why is the price of Bitcoin back below 61,000 and looks like it still wants to go even further? Well, part of the reason why I want to make sure people are aware of this is tomorrow we have inflation numbers. And you're going to say, well, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know why this is for certain. All I know is I've watched this trend happen time after time after time over the last couple of months. Some of you guys in chat are going to realize this. You've been watching it as well. Every time we have a major data point coming out, and inflation data, pretty important when it comes to how we're going to move things around in the economy. It seems like the charts, in preparation for the news, trade in the opposite direction before the actual launch. Meaning, it's like there's a lot of experts out there who know what the trajectory, what the number is going to be tomorrow. In this case, I think that they think it's bullish, but they're confusing / sending the markets down, causing a lot of regular retail investors to speculate that potentially these numbers are going to be bearish, only to get bullish numbers coming out tomorrow morning at 8:30. Those institutional buyers, those long-term buyers, they can buy the dip back there at or below $60,000, and then boom, the price pumps back up to the upside. I can't predict that with perfection, but some of you guys will know if you have been watching. It seems like we seem to trade an opposite direction. We seem to trade down into bullish data points, up into bearish data points. The data points come out, everything flips. To me, this is something I'm watching. The volatility today, I believe, has a lot to do with heavy anticipation about inflation data tomorrow. I'm feeling bullish, though. I think this is all going to turn around and go back up to the upside. The other thing happening here today, we had FOMC minutes that don't really seem to have done anything. It still looks like on our CME watch tool, more than an 80% chance that we're going to stick with a 25 basis point cut. That's going to be super bullish for the price of crypto. The question's going to be, this is where prices could dip if this inflation number comes out worse than expected. In this case, we're looking at worse than 0.1%, meaning higher than that, I guess. If we come out at 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and let's see, not month over month, sorry, 2.3. Oh, this is so weird. Expectation, we're actually going to be dropping. If we come out above 2.5, let's just put it this way. I'm going to regroup my thought here. If we come out about a 2.5, inflation's back up. This could be scary for the markets. It could confirm that the Fed was cutting rates way too fast. But as long as it comes out, I would say at 2.5 or below, as long as it comes to expectation, 2.3%, the markets are going to respond bullishly. And I can tell you right now, if these numbers come out 2.2, 2.1, getting close to that goal that the Fed gave us years ago of 2%, we could honestly see a big move. In that case, you could even say a 50 basis point cut, should we go that direction in November, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It does look like, from a data perspective, inflation is coming back down. And whether you believe it or not, whether that affects you or not in terms of your grocery prices or your gas prices, I understand those are different things. These are data points that markets seem to respond to. They would cause a lot of wealthy individuals, institutions, long-term crypto holders to buy the freaking dip. You guys should be doing it as well. Stay posted. We will put a video out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. covering what this data did and what you should be expecting. That's coming out tomorrow morning here on the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss that. T-Shrimp, I'll throw it back to you. I know we kind of diverted away from the big news, but a lot of things tying together here as to why Bitcoin, despite a fallback today, still has a lot of room to the upside over the next couple of weeks.
That's right. We're going to keep it parked at the FOMC because we've got a good summary here from Zero Hedge. This is what the minutes showed. Now, before we get into it, what are the minutes? What are the FOMC minutes? This, when there's very important business meetings of any kind, doesn't have to be regulators or central banks. Folks will keep minutes. These are it's a fancy way to say notes from a meeting, right? So that's what this is. We get the inside look at what they're thinking and saying over at the FOMC, at least what they feel comfortable releasing to the press release. Let's get into it. The FOMC minutes show, 1, participants worried the unemployment rate will move higher. Okay, so labor is the chief concern. They were worried about the data quality due to immigration, payrolls data revision, and possibly changes of productivity. And this one is really interesting, Tim. Strap in. Several participants used information provided by business contacts, okay, looking outside of the Bureau of Labor Statistics to fact check the labor market data. This could be the beginning of something very, very needed, I would say, and very, very different from what we've seen the government pulling data from its own sources rather than business contacts. ADP is so we'll get into that one a little bit later. Let's keep looking at the details. The recent pace of payroll increases have fallen short of what was required to keep the unemployment rate stable on a sustained basis. Another important note there. And then increasing immigration revisions to reported payroll data were contributed as complicating factors. So immigration, fact-checking, government data, and definitely labor being the main focus for the FOMC in this latest decision, which will remind you all, in case somehow you forgot, it was a 50 basis point cut, right? That's the context of these minutes. The meeting was to determine how much they were going to cut. Everybody was anticipating that. It's one of our top viewed streams that we've had in a while. Got a lot of views. But these were the notes that were being passed around. These were the thoughts that were being passed around. They were focusing on labor, right? And they were even considering how good is this data we're getting, Jerome? I'm sure Jerome there with the calming voice saying, "Oh, the data's great." But Tim, what do you think about this? Are you surprised they're talking so much about labor? What are your thoughts here on these minutes?
Well, I think something to be very important for people to understand. These minutes are not something that happened today. These minutes are reviewing what the meeting looked like here a couple of weeks ago when they actually made the decision.
Yep.
Since that meeting has happened, even though we're just now finding out what they discussed, we've got some favorable job numbers that came out. Again, we have inflation numbers tomorrow. And the more you get down the road of investing and watching how markets move and watching how government officials talk, we say conspiracy theories, but you learn to just say, no, the more conspiracy theory it sounds, the more realistic it probably is. And I'm sitting here saying, what is the chances right before, the markets were heating up, got a little overextended, a little too fast. We have great data probably coming out tomorrow with inflation numbers. Again, that's my prediction that we're going to have good numbers. What are the chances that you release this information like this, kind of bearish, letting the markets dump down? Because I stand corrected. It seems like even though the details of basis point cuts hasn't changed, it seems like people are responding negatively to these minutes that have some notes in them that detect possible concern about recession. Although we haven't seen the numbers continue to back that up. And again, if tomorrow's inflation data is good, it kind of further gives the Fed a lot of power to continue to be pretty strict with rate cuts. And rather than that bringing crashes, it simply helps balance their dual mandate. Right now, they have to kind of manage the inflation numbers going way down, at least according to the data. They have to manage unemployment numbers, which have seen a slight uptick, but are not necessarily out of control. They're actually still showing some favorability. If they see a lot of progress with inflation tomorrow, it's just going to give them further room to continue to say we're having a soft landing, but actually be able to pump the job market back up, get more jobs into space, make it easier for businesses to borrow money. I think it's a little coincidental that the data points or the meeting notes came out today that seem pretty bearish. But I think literally here in just 12 hours or so, not a little more than 12 hours, 16 to 18 hours from now, we're going to see some favorable data points that allow the markets to pump once again. That's what I believe is going to happen. I think anyone who listened to those minutes and started freaking out, I caution you, think a little bit more critically. Understand that we live in a world where, especially when it comes to money, you're lied to daily. You have to ask yourself, don't ask yourself what they're saying. Ask yourself why they're saying it, when they're saying it, and you might start to see a little bit more of a clear picture. I'll tell you this. In my short time, and that's multiple years, but short time investing, I have never seen a major problem or a major dump have a headline sign saying, watch out, guys, major dump coming. It seems like major dumps are.
Uh-oh. I think they cut Tim off.
Oh.
Nope. I can hear you again. I can hear you and I can see you. You're back in.
All right. I don't know what that was. Whenever you see people trying to predict, or you see these signs predicting major dump or major crash, gotta start asking the questions. Is this my fake out? Is this the lie? Is this the thing trying to take sheep down a dark corner? I need to go the opposite direction. In this case, T-Shroom, I'm leaning towards, I think this is a little bit of manipulation before the price shoots back to the upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we check out the betting markets, this is what they're saying. 25 basis points by a mile, 75% likelihood of a 25 basis point hike. Again, this is what we got last time, the 50 basis point. That is still in the single digits. In fact, no change is beating it almost by double there. More than double, I should say. So a pause is double more likely right now than a 50 basis point increase. Decrease, I should say. Very, very interesting there from Polymarket. It's just Polymarket, right? It's not the truth yet, but it's closer to the truth. So we like to take a look at it there. But let's keep moving here. Tim, let's go to the next story. This next one here, we're gonna get the revelation of why Coinbase is getting bought here. Kathy Woods, ARK Invest, buys $2.2 million worth of Coinbase shares. ARK added 12,994 coin shares to its FinTech Innovation ETF in its first purchase of Coinbase stock since September 11th. So very, very bullish there. And how did they fund it? Because this comes on the heels of a similar headline, except the reverse and a different stock. This is over at Robinhood. Kathy Woods ARK Invest offloads $36 million in Robinhood shares amid the stock's 100% year-to-date surge, citing portfolio compliance. Very interesting. So I believe portfolio compliance, I'm not sure what that means, but in any case, they sold $36 million worth of Robinhood, and they bought $2.2 million, potentially the beginning of a long-term DCA strategy there back into Coinbase. You'll remember we reported last year they were doing the opposite over at ARK. They were actually dumping Coinbase and buying Robinhood. So something's changed for them, citing portfolio compliance. I'm not sure what that means. Chat, let me know. My speculation would be that they maybe were growing too big in their percentage holdings of Robinhood, and that was being seen as encroachment on a majority position that would have had some sort of regulatory enforcement. I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. I'm speculating there. Let me know in the chat what you think. But Tim, Coinbase getting a bid here. Is this just whales buying the dip here for crypto?
You know, I see someone in chat said, "Oh, I'm selling when Kathy buys. She can't hold over a certain percentage of supports." Here's what I'll say: Has Kathy Wood had a perfect investment record? No. Show me someone who does that's not a senator in the United States government, and I'll be very surprised. That being said, I've seen Kathy Wood buy several dips. I've seen her sell tops or relatively close to tops. I've seen her buy several dips. Recently, a couple of years ago, I think she made some bad purchases based off of some records we saw. Recently, though, every time she has bought Coinbase, we have watched Coinbase stock go to the upside. And T-Shroom, you're absolutely right. They have methods to get in and out of things. They have rules as a company, ARK Invest, that once an asset that they've invested in reaches a certain percentage of gains, they take profit. Doesn't mean it's absolutely the top. They just take profit. And then coincidentally, you actually end up seeing the asset they do that with correct to the downside. Does that mean they cause it? I don't know. That being said, anyone who's saying, "Oh, I'm going to trade the opposite of Kathy Wood," at least more recently, you would not be doing that very well. You would be losing money if you trade the opposite direction. Like T-Shroom said, the last time they purchased, come back and look at my screen here, they don't buy necessarily the exact bottom, but we don't recommend you even try to do that. They bought after the bottom came in here earlier in September. They bought on the way back up. You can see a big rally in Coinbase, breaking through major levels of resistance since then, with them buying again here more recently. Again, I'm looking at this chart saying, could we move a little to the downside? Yes, but not a whole lot more. I talked about this earlier. You can go back and watch on the show. I think that the price of Coinbase is going to be coming back up here. Targets for me is back up in the camp around 208. 208 is a category that I'm watching here for if I'm going to be trading Coinbase long at the moment. Trading up to about 208 is where I'm watching. I think Cathie Woods knows something we don't know. I think she knew this was a good buy. I'm bullish. And guess what? When Coinbase goes the upside, that's good for crypto as well. With people wanting to be more invested in Coinbase, they're going to go buy more assets over there. And of course, when crypto is purchased, prices go up. So on and so forth. I don't need to get too deep in that because I think that's self-explanatory. But that being said, this is a big deal that Cathie Woods and ARK Invest are getting back in heavier on their Coinbase holdings. A chart that's been moving downwards for months. I think we might be seeing the beginning of a longer-term higher high and higher low bull trend in the works.
Absolutely. Well, chat's helping me out here. Kyle Field saying voting thresholds and portfolio imbalance is probably right. So, it's just some internal shuffling around. Could potentially be a cover-up that they know something's about to happen with Robinhood's price, but who knows? Kyle Fields also chiming in and said, at the end of the day, Cathie Woods is a real OG. Until we're at the same table, it's hard to argue against it. That's right. She's been criticized really heavily sometimes for some of the decisions she's made, but at the end of the day, she is an OG. I definitely agree. And she's been bullish on Bitcoin for a long time, and you can't say that about every one of her caliber. So let's go ahead and keep moving here through the stories. We've got an interesting one here. Probably not going to affect your portfolio tomorrow, but it is a rising narrative in Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a listen.
Finally, I want to briefly provide a 90-day report on the newly formed Santa Monica Bitcoin office, approved by the council in July of this year and led by nonprofit Proof of Workforce. First, I want to extend deep gratitude to Doug Sloan and the entire city attorney's office and Melissa Spaniolo for working incredibly quickly and making sure the memorandum of understanding was signed quickly. Proof of Workforce has been preparing an education campaign in collaboration with the library, set to launch in early 2025, giving community members an opportunity to learn Bitcoin 101 and explore possible career opportunities within the industry. The Bitcoin office has seen significant interest from the public and gained impressive traction, generating more than 2 million organic views on social media, more than 100 inquiries from the public, and widespread media coverage. Several other cities have also reached out to learn more about the office's operations. The office has begun outreach and events in the community, hosting a meetup in collaboration with the Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce, and is set to present at the California Municipal Revenue and Tax Association conference this week. And on October 18th, in concurrence with LA Tech Week, Proof of Workforce and the Bitcoin office will host a Bitcoin Peer-to-Peer Festival, a free community event from 12 to 6 p.m. on the 1200 block of the Promenade. As this office continues to grow, we'll provide regular updates on its progress, and you can find out more on our website, santamonica.gov. And I want to thank Mayor and the...
There you go. So it may seem insignificant. Right now, though, could be the beginnings of a snowball that's building. Santa Monica city manager says several other cities have reached out to learn more about their official Bitcoin office. The Bitcoin office has seen a significant amount of interest from the public. Again, this is not going to boost anybody's bags anytime soon, but it is a positive move in the right direction, showing that the slow-moving world of local government is indeed finding something to grab onto when it comes to opening a Bitcoin-specific office, similar to having an office dedicated to real estate or city planning or understanding different demographic rates. They have an entire office for Bitcoin and Bitcoin management, perhaps looking into Bitcoin mining and trying to offer jobs in the Bitcoin industry there. So if you're in the Santa Monica region, give us a shout out. Let me know what you think about this. Big Matt C is our California man on the street. He says, SoCal rocking the crypto. He's our Matt C, our chief correspondent there, all things California. So Tim, nothing really controversial there, nothing really super interesting, but it is a positive sign. Got another positive sign. Brazil has allowed X back in Brazil. X platform, that is, the free speech platform, bought famously by big Elon there not too long ago. Some are celebrating this as a free speech victory, but Glenn Greenwald says, not so fast. Stop that. It's the opposite, a victory for authoritarian state censors. To get back, X was forced to comply with every demand, including banning all censored accounts and a huge fine. So, you have been seeing these headlines, and I know I have, seeing that X has been reinstated by the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, according to Glenn Greenwald, the way that has happened is they've been forced to comply with every demand. So I'm sure we'll hear.
What does that mean exactly, though? Like, I don't know which accounts were censored and they got rid of. Would it be Portuguese-speaking accounts? Because again, I don't think they're going to censor it in the American, the English version. So I think it's still a good thing that Brazilians will be able to hear from Americans as well. But yeah, I guess maybe just the Portuguese speaking section of X.
I mean, Tim, that unfortunately is the $1 million question there is, what exactly is being censored? Unfortunately, that is not necessarily known because it could be very small accounts, swarms of small accounts, and so it's complicated. But the good news is that X is back up in Brazil. The bad news is it's probably more complicated than that. However,
I'm surprised Elon bowed the knee there. That doesn't seem like the type of thing that he would have done. Maybe there's details that we're unaware of that maybe we'll find out in the next couple of days. It just seems weird. It seems weird that Elon would say okay to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big market. There's a lot of money there in Brazil. Not quite as big as the United States and Europe, but it is a big market. So it could be just as simple as money.
I just don't think I'm not saying he's not paying attention to money at all. I just don't think money is his speaking factor. You see that interview with him? I don't think this is a newer interview, but there's a reporter pretty much asking him why he won't do this or that. It's like, you could make so much more money. And he pauses for like probably 10 seconds while he thinks about it. And he pretty much is like, this reminds me of the quote from Princess Bride, where anyone who's seen that movie, Inigo Montoya is facing the man that kills his father. And if anyone can say spoilers, the movie's been out for a very long time, so I'm not spoiling anything. But he pretty much, as the guy's like begging for his life, he tells the guy, he's like, offer me money, offer me power. And the guy does it. And then he pretty much says, I don't want any of it. I want my father back. And then he kills him. The point is, what Elon's point was saying, he's like, you can't offer me enough money or power or authority to give up on my right to free speech and say what I want to say. So, with watching that quote from him earlier, I don't know how involved he was in this either. I don't know if for some reason he delegated this. Obviously, he's not the CEO. He hired someone to be CEO. Did he delegate that? Are we going to hear from Elon Musk here soon? Because this is just this doesn't line up with his personality and what he stood so strongly on for the last. How long has he owned X now? A year and a half, 2 years? I forget. It seems like he's been the owner for a while.
Yeah, this kind of gives me, you live to fight another day vibes in the sense that, while they'll comply in the short term to be able to maintain operation, they're going to obviously take aggressive steps to try to not have to comply. And they're probably going to go run kicking and screaming to this. But the reality is it's not just Elon, right, that stands to gain financially from continuing operations in Brazil. It's also the shareholders, right? The folks that went in with him on this Twitter investment in the first place to buy it from the previous owners over at Twitter, the public markets. But then there's also, potentially hundreds of thousands of small businesses that are operating on X that were not able to, just say when they're closed, right? And simple things like that. And it was probably becoming disruptive and folks were migrating off of X to pursue alternative methods of communicating with their client base. But there's also probably, tens of thousands that were making significant income as influencers on X for Portuguese speaking audiences. So Look, this is breaking news, right? This is news that's coming out today. I'm sure that these questions will be answered at some point. Elon is no stranger to explaining his thoughts, and he's got a very big platform to be very clear. I'm sure that we're not the only journalistically minded folks who are having these questions. I'm sure they will be answered. Glenn Greenwald wraps up the post up here, though. Musk's aggressive defiance of Brazil's censorship regime produced real benefits, fueling the debate over free internet, but ultimately no centralized platform can resist state censorship orders. It's why Pavel Durov changed Telegram's policies after France arrested him. Yeah, so
interesting.
Just not a good year for free speech, I think, is ultimately the conclusion. However, there could be a person in office in the United States that could turn the ship around very, very soon. And her name is Kamala.
I always forget that, the United States, obviously, we have it written into our Constitution. We have an amendment that says we have the right to free speech, and it would take a whole lot to get rid of that amendment. Other countries don't have that written into their constitutions. Sometimes we forget that. I'm sure there's other countries that have it as well. You have to tell me which ones there are, because I wouldn't know off the top of my head. But there's a lot of countries that do not have the right to speak freely. You absolutely get policed on what you say. So maybe that's it. Maybe as simple as that is Elon's going to fight for it in the countries that give it to their people as a right, but in the countries that don't have free speech written in their constitution, he's going to comply. Maybe it's that simple. Just seems like something he would have put up a stricter fight on.
Yeah, and I think also it has a lot to do with elections, and now that the elections have concluded in Brazil and they're reaching conclusion in the United States, it's probably going to be less of an issue. There'll just be less orders from the state to censor in general. But look, we're one group here. Free speech. We are very pro free speech here, but we're an investments channel, right? There's plenty of other content creators that they can go up and down on all the facts here, all the different angles. Ultimately, I agree with you, Tim. It does seem a bit uncharacteristic for Elon to capitulate here, or as you said, bend the knee. However, I do think there's more than likely a lot more to the story. And my early speculation is that he's not doing this for his own personal gain to turn back on the ad revenue flow back into his wallet. No, I think it's because there's other people suffering as well, other business owners and investors. We've got a couple last stories here. Speaking of people who are suffering, HBO may have just made one of the biggest mistakes of all time, at least in the eyes of the Bitcoin community. The new HBO documentary claims Peter Todd is Bitcoin's creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Peter immediately said that he was not Satoshi Nakamoto, and I don't really know how HBO bounces back from this in terms of its perspective, its standing in the Bitcoin community. Tim, what are your thoughts here? This is a crazy one.
I'm perplexed by the way you're setting this up, because you make it sound like HBO was this trusted, everything they ever say ever and produce a movie or show on is 100% factual. No, this is, add him to the list of people that we think are Elon Musk, or people have accused being Satoshi Nakamoto. Add Elon to the list as well. Some people think he might be Satoshi Nakamoto. Was that a Freudian slip? I don't know. Either way, nobody knows. Nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It's a lot like, and I think it's going to stay this way. Obviously, it'd be easier to know this than the other one, but people try to claim they know when the end times are going to be and when Jesus is coming back. And the Bible's very clear. We never know. You'll never know when it is, the hour. I think it's pretty darn close to saying we're never going to know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. That's kind of the point. That we'll never know who it is. So when you say HBO's in trouble, they're going to lose faith with the crypto community. Did they have any to begin with? I don't think this is really going to shake the boat too much either direction.
And they're not everybody's favorite streaming service. That would be probably Netflix. But, HBO generally has a decent standing. They've got a Curb Your Enthusiasm on there. They've got, plenty of other good titles.
Well, but you're talking about entertainment. I don't think anybody's watching HBO or Netflix for historically accurate information in a show. Also, this is a documentary, right? So it's not like a live action or whatever. They're just talking about it. Even the documentary sides. Do people look at HBO's documentaries and it's like, well, if it's in HBO, then it's 100% factual? I highly doubt it. Highly doubt that's how people act. Matt C with the super chat saying, grab a Sammy at the airport on me, Timmy. What a nice guy. I'm going to go see him tomorrow and all the chaos. The storm is not hitting up here in Georgia. I will be on a plane tomorrow around this time, going out to California to see Matt. And so, yeah, I'll grab a sandwich with $20. That's a nice sandwich. I guess it's the airport. Never mind. That's just a normal sandwich for $20.
Yeah, that's like one tuna fish sandwich in like one of the little like hallway kiosks that you have to grab it and pay the robot thing. But Satoshi sitting watching the investing bros. That's probably true. Yeah,
I would if I was Satoshi.
Yeah, Satoshi is the only one who knows Bitcoin supply will evaporate once max supply is met. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. Kyle Field's got some deep takes there. Let's see. Yeah, I love it. Man, you guys are active today. I love it because you're trying to combat all the scam and spam that was coming in.
I know that was rough earlier in chat. If you guys are still watching through all that, thank you so much. If you guys love to engage in chat, it was difficult there for a while because of all these scammers. But our mods have been amazing today. Thank you again to all the mods. We didn't hit the 300 likes by the midway point. We're over 300 now, but in theory, guys, 4 minutes, get to 600. We'll still give someone $50, but we're going to come back. I will not be on the show tomorrow, but of course, T Shroom will be here as long as the storm doesn't hit him in High Springs, which it shouldn't. It looks like it's going further south at this point. But there will still be content put out throughout this whole week. Even though I'm going to be in California, maybe Matt will make an appearance on the show as well. I'll still be on the show Friday. We'll kind of play Saturday by ear, kind of see what's going on, if we do a Saturday show or not. But make sure to smash the like button. T-shirt, before we go, because we have maybe time for one question, but I don't think we will because we haven't even gotten into our factoid of the day.
That's right.
A lot of news today. Right, we're rarely still talking news at 56 minutes into the show, but here's where we are because there's a lot of it. What is our factoid of the day today? I gotta minimize my chat so that I don't use any of it for cheating. What do you got for me?
So the factoid of the day, Tim, brought to you all by Decrypted.tax. You're looking for a great crypto tax service. Look no forward to the link in the description for Decrypted.tax and tell Ernest that we sent you. What is the term for earning interest on both the initial principal and the accumulated interest from previous periods? Is it A, simple interest, B, fixed interest, C, compound interest, or Tim, is it D, deferred interest?
All right, scroll back up. Let me read this because it's a complicated question. What's the term for earning interest on both the initial principal and the accumulated interest? I was leaning towards C, compound, but I don't know. It's because it's a combination. Maybe that would still be maybe that'd be compound interest. I think I'm gonna go C. I think I'm gonna go with compound interest.
He's going compound. Let us know in the chat. What do you think the answer to today's factoid is? Tim thinks it's compound. Let's see if he's right.
Hey, look at that.
Compound
I'm on a roll
interest.
here.
That's right. It's an interest that applies not only to the initial principal, Tim, but also to the accumulated interest from previous periods. In other words, compound interest involves earning or owing interest on your interest. Very, very bullish. I believe Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. I could be wrong about that, but I want so strongly to believe that it's true. So somebody fact check me. That's right. Yeah, somebody let me know.
Very, very good. Well, it is 3:58, everybody. We're probably going to wrap up the show right after this. We do have our members-only stream called Bro Time. Right. That is for our YouTube members, our Discord members. Everybody can come over, but you got to be in the Discord to be able to listen to that, and you got to be one of our members. Go sign up with the links down below. As I said, tomorrow morning, watch out for a 9 a.m. video coming your way. We will break down what the inflation numbers are and what that means for crypto prices. Even though we're correcting right now, there's a lot of reasons to stay bullish on the market as a whole, but you're not going to be able to see it unless you're subscribed to the channel. That's the easiest way so that you get a notification when any of our content comes out. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the like button. With that said, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning with adios.